Hi students, as a part of exam preparation, I just want to share the answer keys for some of the previous question papers from Kuhas University. I will try to cover some of the question papers before your exams. So this is pharmacology from Kuhas, October 2018. We will see the questions. So it is for 75 marks and for 3 hours. And this is a long essay. The question is classify diuretics with suitable examples. Write the mechanism of action, uses, adverse effects and contraindication of furosemide. So what is diuretic? So whatever question you are answering, you should start with the definition of the main term in the question. So what is diuretics? You should write before writing the classification. So what is diuretics? Diuretics are drugs used to increase the amount of urine produced by the kidneys and thereby increase the excretion of sodium and other electrolytes. So the action of diuretics is increase the amount of urine produced by the kidneys, so that along with the urine some amount of electrolytes also comes out or excreted. So we'll see the classification, which was the question. So the diuretics are classified as or into loop diuretics, thiazide diuretics, potassium sparing diuretics, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors and osmotic diuretics. So this is the main classification of diuretics, but there is another classification called high efficacy, low efficacy, intermediate efficacy. So it depends upon the action of the diuretics they are classified as. You can write any one of this classification. Here I am explaining the main classification according to the area where it acts. First one is loop diuretics, which comes under a high efficacy diuretics, which is the best diuretics and the fast acting diuretics. These are the most potent diuretics as they increase the elimination of sodium chloride and chloride by primarily preventing reabsorption of sodium and chloride. All the diuretics acts either by preventing the reabsorption or by excretion. Okay, the site of action in loop diuretics is, why it is called loop diuretics? Because it acts on loop of Henle. So it is high potent diuretic which increases the elimination by reabsorption of sodium and chloride in loop diuretics. The example is furosemide. The next is thiazide diuretics. What is the action of thiazide diuretics? It increases the elimination of sodium chloride by inhibiting the reabsorption of sodium and chloride in the distal convoluted tubules. You remember, loop diuretics acts on loop of Henle. Thiazide diuretics acts on distal convoluted tubules in the kidneys. The example is hydrochlorothiazide. The next is potassium sparing diuretics. So what is potassium sparing diuretics? Whenever diuretics is given, along with the sodium chloride, the potassium also excreted through the urine, so causing hypokalemia. So to avoid that, we have a potassium sparing diuretics. Actually the diuretic action for this is a low efficacy, but what is the best thing is, like, it spares the potassium, thereby reducing the possibility of hypokalemia. Potassium sparing diuretics reduces sodium reabsorption at the distal tubules, thus decreasing potassium secretion. So, but potassium sparing diuretics, when used alone, they are weak. As I said, it is a low efficacy diuretics. Hence, they are used mostly with thiazide or loop diuretics. So, whenever you give potassium sparing diuretics, you have to administer it with thiazide or loop diuretics, so that the effectiveness of the diuretics will be best. The example is spironolactone and aldactone. The N is missing in both these things. Okay, spironolactone and aldactone. The next is carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, which acts by increasing the excretion of sodium, potassium bicarbonate and water from the renal tubules. So what this carbonic anhydrase inhibitors does, it increases the excretion of sodium, potassium, bicarbonates and water from the renal tubule, thereby increasing the urine amount. The example is metolazone. The next is osmotic diuretics. They are low molecular weight substances, work by preventing reabsorption of water, sodium chloride. So it prevents the reabsorption, that means it increases the secretion of water sodium chloride in renal tubules. The example is mannitol. So whenever they use mechanism of action, they use two things. One is reabsorption of reducing the reabsorption of sodium and water, or increasing the excretion of water and sodium. Both are same. So don't get confused with these two terms in the mechanism of action of diuretics. So what are all the diuretics? That is loop diuretics. Example is furosemide. Thiazide diuretics acts on the distal convoluted tubule. Example is hydrochlorothiazide. The next is potassium sparing diuretics. It spares the potassium, which is a low efficacy diuretics, which is effective when you give it with thiazide or loop diuretics. The example is spironolactone or aldactone, carbonic anhydrase inhibitors, which acts on the renal tubules. The example is metolazone. And osmotic diuretics, which is the best example is mannitol, mostly given in patient with cerebral edema. The next part of the question is asked about the furosemide, its mechanism of action, uses and contraindications. So what is the mechanism of action? We have seen furosemide is a loop diuretics and it acts on the loop of Henle. So furosemide promotes diuresis by blocking tubular reabsorption of sodium and chloride in the proximal and distal tubules, as well as in the thick ascending loop of Henle. That's why it is efficacy. It comes under high efficacy diuretics. So it acts on the proximal, distal, and also it thick ascending loop of Henle also it acts. So it is very effective. Uses where and all the loop diuretics are used or furosemide are used. It is a very important drug of management in pulmonary edema, hypertension patients, so that it reduces the blood pressure, congestive heart failure, it reduces the workload of the heart, liver cirrhosis, thereby reducing the ascites and other edema in the body, kidney failure, nephrotic syndrome, cerebral edema. It helps as adjunct therapy. The main diuretics used is mannitol. Hypercalcemia and hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia is increased potassium and hypercalcemia is increased calcium. So these are all the places where the furosemide is used. The next is adverse effects. What are all the adverse effects? Of course, we have seen the uses. So you know the patient will have lot of urine output. So and lot of electrolyte comes out through the urine. What is the effect here? Dehydration. So the patient has a possibility of going into dehydration. Ototoxicity. It has an effect of ototoxicity, that is hearing impairment occurs. Hyperuremia, potassium depletion, that is hypokalemia, hypomagnesemia, acute hypovolemia, and orthostatic hypotension. You should explain the patient that they should come out of the bed very carefully, so that there is possibility of orthostatic hypotension. If the dehydration is very severe, the patient go into shock and cardiac arrhythmias, and sometimes some of the patients may have allergic to furosemide. So these are all the adverse effects. What is the contraindication here? So if patient has electrolyte imbalance, it's better to avoid diuretics. Hypersensitivity. So some of the patient may have allergic to furosemide, that is diuretics hypersensitivity. So you should avoid hyperglycemia. Actually it is to be decided by the doctor or the physician to check whether the patient with hyperglycemia, the patient has a possibility of going to hypoglycemia, but you have to see which is important, whether the patient's has a pulmonary edema. In that case, we are not supposed to avoid furosemide. So hyperglycemia, ventricular arrhythmias, acute myocardial infarction, hypovolemia and hypotension patient, you have to use it carefully as per the physician's order. So these are all the contraindications. So we will move on to short essay. In the long essay, we discussed about classification of diuretics, mechanism of action, uses, adverse effects and contraindication of furosemide. Next we will move on to short essay. Short essay carries actually 7 marks. There will be 2 short essay And the second question, that is classify the drugs used as antiemetics with one example each. So you have to classify the antiemetics with one example and explain the mechanism of action, uses, adverse effects of metoclopramide. So what is antiemetics? As I said, you have to start with the definition. What is antiemetic? These are drugs that are used to control or prevent vomiting or nausea. So the drugs used to control or prevent vomiting or nausea is called antiemetics. The classification of antiemetics is 5-HT3 antagonist, that is it acts on the serotonin, that is histamine receptor blockers. So ondansetron is the example of 5-HT3 antagonist. Prokinetics or dopamine antagonist, which acts on the dopamine receptors. The example is metoclopramide. And antihistamines, which suppress the action of histamines, it is called promethazine. And the next is anticholinergics, acts against the acetylcholine receptors, hyoscine. So I have given a detailed video on this antiemetics and emetics. You can watch that. I will put it in the description box. So classification, it is classified mainly into 4 types, that is 5-HT3 antagonist. You can write a little bit of mechanism of action if you want, but they have asked only example. So 5-HT3 antagonist acts on serotonin blockers receptors, that is ondansetron. Prokinetics or dopamine antagonist, the example is metoclopramide. And antihistamines, promethazine, anticholinergic, hyoscine. And they have asked the action of metoclopramide. So metoclopramide is 5 to 10 milligram dose. Mechanism of action, they block dopamine neurotransmitter and promote GI motility, and also it quickens gastric emptying. So it does 2 main things. It's the best antiemetic because it's not only reduces the vomiting sensation, it promotes the GI motility so that it reduces the heaviness or fullness in the stomach, and it quickens the gastric emptying. So what are all the uses? It is given in case of nausea due to fullness of the stomach. Sometimes the patient feel so full and they feel nauseated. Indigestion, so that's why it promotes the GI motility. It helps in indigestion. Constipation induced nausea. Pre-medications, it can be given as a pre-medication for any surgical procedures. And reflux esophagitis, because the patient with this reflux esophagitis, it helps because it quickens the gastric emptying. It removes the food from the stomach easily or faster, so that it reduces the reflux esophagitis. In endoscopic procedures also, before procedure, the metoclopramide is given. Post-operative vomiting can be reduced by administering post-operatively. Vomiting during induction of anesthesia. So that's why it is given as pre-medication. So these are all the uses where you can give metoclopramide. What are all the adverse effects? Restlessness, drowsiness, dizziness, and dystonic reaction. So you have to administer patient, especially when you give an IV dose of metoclopramide, you have to be careful that make the patient comfort in the bed before administering the metoclopramide. So next question is in the short essay, that is classify beta blockers with suitable examples and write uses and contraindication of propranolol. So what are beta blockers? As we said, we should start with the definition. You should write a little bit about beta blockers. Beta blockers are also known as beta adrenergic blocking agents, or a class of drugs that works by blocking the neurotransmitters, that is norepinephrine and epinephrine, from binding to receptors. So what it does, it blocks the beta adrenergic receptors, that is neurotransmitters like norepinephrine and epinephrine, to the binding to the beta receptors. So there are different types of beta receptors in our body. Beta 1 adrenergic receptors are present in heart and kidney. Beta 2 adrenergic receptors are present in so many places like lungs, gastrointestinal tract, liver, uterus, vascular smooth muscle, and skeletal muscle. Beta 3 adrenergic receptors are present in fat cells. So when you administer drug, you have to check what kind of beta receptor blocker it is. The next is classification of beta receptors or beta blockers. That is, it is of two types mainly, selective beta blockers and non-selective beta blockers. And otherwise also it is classified as first generation, second generation and third generation beta blockers. So you can write both the classification. The first one is selective beta blockers. These are selectively beta 1 receptor blockers. It won't block the beta 2 receptors. So it will focus only on beta 1 receptor blockers. The examples are metoprolol, atenolol, bisoprolol. The non-selective beta blockers, these are non-selective, which blocks both beta 1 and beta 2 receptors. So it can be given if you want this both the beta receptors to be blocked, like beta 1 and beta 2, you can choose non-selective beta blockers. Non-selective beta blockers will block both beta 1 and beta 2 receptors. So the examples are propranolol, timolol and sotalol. Okay, so these are all the classification. Usually non-selective beta blockers are used as an antiarrhythmic agent and selective beta blockers are used as a antihypertensive drugs. So don't get confused. Propranolol will not be very effective in patient with hypertension, and bisoprolol, of course, it is effective in treating arrhythmias but not very effective as like propranolol. So the next part of the question is like to write the uses and contraindications and about the propranolol. So what is propranolol? It is non-selective beta blocker. We have already discussed in the previous slide. What is the uses? It helps us in cardiovascular, especially patient with hypertension and angina pectoris. Tachycardia associated with hyperthyroidism. This is the very important place where the propranolol is used. Patient with hyperthyroidism, they will have palpitation due to tachycardia. This can be reduced by giving propranolol, that is antiarrhythmic. Chronic migraine, portal hypertension, essential tremors. The patient with essential tremor, by blocking the epinephrine norepinephrine, it reduces the tremors. And panic disorder also, the patient may have palpitation and tremors, the secretion of adrenaline which is suppressed by the propranolol action. So the uses are cardiovascular, tachycardia, that is antiarrhythmic in hyperthyroidism, chronic migraine, portal hypertension, essential tremor and panic disorder. What are the contraindications of propranolol? It is contraindicated in diabetes mellitus. As I said, you should remember that which has to be considered first, because patient with diabetes mellitus comes with a severe arrhythmia and he needs propranolol, then we should think of giving him, but make sure the patient won't go into hypoglycemia. Okay, diabetes mellitus, hypotension, pulmonary diseases, because it causes bronchial spasm because it acts on the lungs as well. So heart block, because heart block there is already the heart rate is reduced, and if you give propranolol it may go into complications. So heart block, it is contraindicated. Bradycardia, it is contraindicated because the action of propranolol, it decreases the heart rate. Peripheral vascular disease, because it causes vascular spasm. Depression, allergy and pregnancy. So allergy and pregnancy is very common in most of the medications. You have to think about it. The other contraindication is, you all know it acts on the heart by reducing the number of heart rate, and it causes vascular spasm, and also that's the reason why it is contraindicated in peripheral vascular disease, pulmonary disease and heart block and bradycardia. Okay, we have discussed long essay and short essay questions in this video. I will come up with a new video for the short notes. Thank you.